All right, everyone, welcome back. We are diving into some seriously interesting stuff today, all about AI.
Yeah, it seems like we can't go a day without hearing about some crazy new AI development.
And you know, our listeners are all over it. We've gotten a ton of articles, stories, even a fake Jon Stewart clip, all about AI.
A fake Jon Stewart clip. Okay, you've got to tell me more about that one later. But you're right, AI is the hot topic right now, and for good reason.
Exactly. And that's why we're here to do a deep dive into all the stuff you've sent us. From Australian government bots to AI therapists, it seems like AI is popping up everywhere. But the big question is, what does it all really mean?
I think that's what's so fascinating to me. It's not just about the individual breakthroughs anymore. It's about the bigger picture they paint, the trends they reveal.
Right. Like, remember when self-driving cars were the big thing? Now it feels like AI is infiltrating every aspect of our lives, often ways we don't even realize.
Absolutely. And the implications, well, they're huge. This isn't just about tech anymore. It's about power, ethics, the very fabric of our society.
Okay, so let's jump into it. Where do we even start with all this?
Yeah.
That article you shared, Better to Ask Forgiveness Than AI Permission.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
What a title, right? It really sets the stage for this whole conversation. It's about how Australia is increasingly relying on AI for things like immigration and biosecurity decisions.
Right, and that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. These decisions, they have real-world consequences for people's lives, and they're being made, or at least heavily influenced, by algorithms.
It's kind of like, remember that Black Mirror episode with the social credit scores? It felt dystopian back then, but now,
It's becoming our reality, and faster than we realize. And the bigger question is, are we even ready for it? I mean, what happens when AI makes a mistake? How do we balance progress with protection?
right, because on the one hand, you can see the potential benefits, right? AI has the power to streamline processes, maybe even make fairer decisions in some cases by removing human bias. But
Right.
then,
But then there's the risk of unintended consequences, of amplifying existing biases if we're not careful,
yeah.
and who's accountable when things go wrong. These are questions we really need to grapple with.
Speaking of bias, that example you shared about San Jose using AI to track homeless encampments really got me thinking.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
On the surface, it sounds like they're just trying to use technology to address a complex social issue, but
But you have to ask, at what cost?
mm,
AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. So if that data reflects existing societal biases, the AI is just going to perpetuate those biases, often on a much larger scale.
it's like that saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? In this case, the garbage out could mean further marginalizing a vulnerable population.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations to examine these issues from multiple angles. Technology is rarely black and white. There are always trade-offs.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential downsides, but what about the upsides? I mean, this Liverpool FC story using AI to analyze soccer matches, it's fascinating.
Isn't it? They're using AI to analyze game footage, player stats, all sorts of data to get a competitive edge.
And it makes you wonder, does AI coaching make sports more about who has the best algorithms and less about human skill and intuition?
Now, that's a question I don't have the answer to. But it is a great example of how AI is changing the game, so to speak,
Yeah.
in all sorts of unexpected ways. And not just in sports either. You sent that article about Visa using AI to fight fraud,
Yeah.
saying it's table stakes now for any financial institution.
Right, and that has huge implications for people working in those fields. It's not just blue-collar jobs that are being automated anymore.
Exactly. This is affecting everyone, from Wall Street to Main Street.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole conversation. AI isn't just some abstract tech thing anymore. It's having a real impact on people's jobs, their livelihoods, their everyday lives.
It's personal now.
It is.
And it's not just those industries either, right? We've got AI making art now. That filmmaker, what was his name? Wallonius Hatcher.
Yeah, Alonius Hatchet.
Yeah.
That guy's story is incredible. Using AI to create these stunning visuals, it really makes you question what creativity even means in the age of AI.
It's like, where does the human element end and the machine begin?
Right. And who gets to decide that? I mean, on the one hand, you could argue that AI is democratizing creativity.
Mm.
Like Hatcher talks about how these tools are giving access to people who might not have had the resources before.
Which is a really powerful idea. But
But
that,
then there's the potential for homogenization, right?
okay.
If everyone's using the same AI tools, are we going to lose some of that unique human spark? It's a balancing act for sure.
Speaking of balancing acts, remember that article you sent about the Canadian lawyer using AI to, well, basically cheat the legal system?
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Oh,
Creating fake legal precedents with AI. Can you believe that?
Talk about a cautionary tale. It's like just because you can do something with AI doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely. And it really highlights the need for, what do they call it? AI literacy.
Hmm.
We need to be able to understand these tools, their limitations, their potential for misuse.
Right. Like you don't need to be a mechanic to drive a car, but you should probably know how to change a tire.
Exactly. AI literacy is becoming just as important as basic digital literacy. We need to be able to evaluate the information we're getting from these tools, to spot biases, to think critically about the outputs.
Especially with all the deep fakes floating around these days. It's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's AI generated.
Totally. That's why critical thinking is more important than ever. And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the people behind it. Like, who's programming these algorithms? What are their biases? These are questions we need to be asking.
It all circles back to that idea of power, right? And who controls it. Like with that article about the UK government using AI to draft responses to parliamentary questions.
Yeah, what did you make of that one?
I don't know. It's efficient, sure. But it also feels a little, I don't know, is it really the AI speaking or is it the politicians pulling the strings?
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating and a little bit unnerving, to be honest. AI is forcing us to confront some really fundamental questions about ourselves, about our values, about the kind of future we want to build.
It feels like the more we talk about it, the more questions we uncover. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? There's got to be a silver lining in here somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in all the scary headlines, but the truth is, AI also presents incredible opportunities for progress, for innovation, for solving some of the world's most pressing problems.
So, if we're not all doomed to be replaced by robots, what does this mean for us, the humans, trying to navigate this rapidly changing world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't have all the answers. But what I do know is that the skills we need to thrive in an AI-driven world, they're not necessarily technical skills. It's about adaptability, about creativity, about being lifelong learners.
So, what you're saying is we need to learn how to be more human.
Maybe that's it. Because at the end of the day, AI is just a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
Okay, so we talked about the challenges, the potential pitfalls, but what about those opportunities? If we want to thrive in this AI powered future, where do we even begin? So we've talked about the challenges, the potential pitfalls, but what about the opportunities? If we want to thrive in this AI-powered future, where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with a shift in mindset. We need to stop thinking of AI as something that's going to replace us and start thinking of it as a tool we can leverage, like that Liverpool FC example we keep coming back to.
Right. They're not replacing their coaching staff with algorithms. They're using AI to augment their decision making to see patterns they might have missed.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial skill for the AI age: data literacy. Being able to understand data, to interpret it critically, and to glean meaningful insights from it, that's going to be essential in almost every field.
And it's not just about being a data scientist, right? It's about being able to have a conversation with the data, to ask the right questions, and to understand the limitations. Kind of like how we were talking about that lawyer who got duped by the fake legal cases.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is going to be more important than ever. We need to be able to evaluate information from multiple sources, to spot biases and inconsistencies, and to think for ourselves.
And maybe even more importantly, to know when to trust our gut. Like if an AI tells you the sky is green, but you look outside and it's clearly blue, trust your own perception.
yeah.
Laughs. Exactly. Human judgment, intuition, and experience. Those are still incredibly valuable, even in an AI-driven world. And let's not forget about creativity. That's something AI can't replicate, at least not yet.
Right. Wallonius Hatcher made that point so eloquently. AI can give us incredible tools, but it's up to us to use them in imaginative and innovative ways. It's about finding that sweet spot where human ingenuity and AI capabilities intersect.
I couldn't agree more. And if we think about this in a broader sense, it's about being adaptable, curious, and lifelong learners.
Hmm.
Because the one thing we know for sure about AI is that it's going to keep evolving, and we need to evolve with it.
So, to bring it all back to you, our listener, who's been sending us all these thought-provoking pieces about AI, it's clear you're already on the right track. You're asking the right questions, engaging with these complex issues, and seeking out different perspectives.
And that's what it's all about. Staying informed, staying curious, and never losing sight of the human element in all of this. because ultimately AI is a reflection of us, the creators. It's up to us to shape the future we want to see.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those amazing articles coming. And remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we build together. Until next time, keep those minds sharp and those imaginations firing.